Good morning and welcome. It's Tuesday, September 10th, and I welcome all you families, all you people from around the world. This is a live podcast seen everywhere in the world. You found me on Facebook, Fight CPS with Bob Pace. I'm transmitting on YouTube using the StreamYard application. It's being broadcast from sunny California. I'm at Surf City, USA, about a mile up from the beach outside, enjoying the nice weather that California has. It gets hot, of course, and so I know most of you are in heat areas too, so I hope you're staying cool. The purpose of this podcast is an interactive podcast. It's so that you can find help with the child protection system. That's what I call CPS. It's the uh, arm of social services that's supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse and help out families in need of social services like food and clothing and housing and medical and schooling and also a job. So if any of you families are going through hard times, they're supposed to help you. And then on top of that, um, it's supposed to protect children from neglect and abuse. Neglect and abuse. Now, it doesn't help out families, but it helps out protecting our children from neglect and abuse because that does happen. It isn't a perfect system. There's a lot of problems with the Child Protection Agency that I've experienced and people I've talked to have experienced it. Isn't what it's made out to be. Also, if it's necessary to break apart a family because some hiccups in your family have done something to hurt a child, neglect or abuse on a child, then they will take your children and try to get the family back to what's called family reunification. It's very important they do family reunification. That is the purpose. But lately it seems like the typical arrangement when a CPS case is called in, when there's allegations made, they right away investigate and they immediately come to your home and go in your home, breaking all the rules they do, and taking your children when you're not supposed to be giving up. Those are things I tell you about and how to protect your children. Whatever you do, don't let them in your home. Don't talk to CPS workers or even the police. Don't let the police in your home. If there's ways you can avoid that. Also, hang on to your children. You need help. That's why someone has made a report. Now, there are four ways to interact with this podcast. And if you're new, this will pertain to you. If you're not, you've been hearing it, well, then you can take a couple minute break and get yourself some coffee or juice or something to drink as you listen to me. The first step is very important. You're here. It's very hard as a parent, either a younger parent or an older parent, know to handle this child protection system. Now, in other states like Arizona, it's called Department of Children's Services. In Kentucky, it's called the Cabinet. And so, um, when I say CPS, I mean all of them. So it's kind of traumatized you because they may abruptly have taken your children or abruptly refused to cooperate, or you suddenly, no one is born with a manual of how to fight CPS. They don't teach it in high school. It's one of the life skills. I think in high school you should have 4 years of life skills where you learn about marriage and divorce and about the IRS, how to do your taxes, your checking account. You should also learn about what happens when you get involved with CPS. You should also learn about how to contact your congressman or your congresswoman. There's lots of things you do. You do learn about the government. You take a government class in there, and you do take a history class that tells you about our country. But right now, it seems like most of the high schools that I've asked about, they don't have life skills anymore. And so CPS is a very important agency to be careful about. You got to treat them with respect, and you got to be very careful because the majority of the cases that I've talked to, probably about 90%, have all been a horrific kidnapping, trafficking of your child. That's right. I said trafficking. It's illegal. But the child protection system, the CPS, doesn't. Also, alienation is illegal, and the CPS doesn't. So that's why you be careful. So when I go back to tell you how they're gonna have to do this podcast, the first one is being in here. You can express emojis, you can put smiles up, thumbs up, and everything else about doing that. And um, just by listening and taking notes, it will help you. But there may reach a time when you want to make a comment or ask a question. In doing so, um, this podcast, which I'm streaming on YouTube and I'm using the StreamYard application, allows comments. Now, I just put up on the screen how to type in your comment. Now, it's a text message. I like it to pertain to the child protection system. We're in here to help you all with how to handle the child protection system, the CPS. So questions or comments should pertain to CPS. Now, all of you will have a name if you're on Facebook or YouTube. And most of you have names like my name is Bob Pace. But some of you have some really fancy names, which is great to express yourself, like jumping bullfrogs or dancing hippopotamus or magical butterflies or something like that. If so, that's fine. I'm not asking you to go change your name, but could you start off your comment and put your first name, not your last name, your first name, like Bob, Bill, Kathy, Mary, Debbie, Peggy, those kind of common names. Then after your name, list the city. If you don't want to list the city, can you list the county? The county, so that I can um, um, get an idea where in the state you're located. Also, it's important to list the state. I've talked to all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., so I'm well familiar with cases, and I'm trying to put a picture of where people are having problems. Um, Also, um, I mentioned country, a city and a country. Because this is a worldwide podcast, I've had about 13 countries that have called in. 13 um, countries that have called you in. Um, so the countries that have texted in comments have been Bangladesh, India, several countries in Africa. I've had Liberia in the north on the west coast. Then I've had the west coast province of South Africa. And then I've had Rwanda in Central East Africa near Lake Victoria. And then I've had Mozambique opposite Madagascar. Then we jump over to Europe, and I've had England, Scotland, and Wales, all part of the United Kingdom. And then I've had Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, I've had North America. I've had Canada, um, the different provinces in Canada. Um, and then I've had all the 50 states, including Washington, D.C. I've also south of the border had Mexico actually called in about locating, the man was locating his daughters in Louisiana. And then in South America, we had Guyana, which is east of Venezuela and north of Brazil on the east coast of South America. And then I've crossed the Pacific. I have the land down under Australia. So besides the United States, we've had worldwide interest in CPS. It seems to be a common problem worldwide, and I'm open to helping everybody in this world about how to fight CPS, how to get around the obstacles, and how to get your kids back. And why I have wanted to do this is that I too was in the same boats as you. I had a bad case. I've been fighting CPS for 15 years, and they had stolen 3 of my children. And I got back to them, but I did lose one of them in the end. And it's really a sad, tragic story because CPS is not your friend. You can't trust them. They're very deceptive. They're not transparent, and they will retaliate. Now, those are harsh words I'm saying about Indy. I have talked to 3 CPS social workers. One was a clinical psychiatrist, educated and trained, and she said she had 6 months of advanced training in CPS in Maryland. And it was interesting. She talked for about 40 minutes, and she was quite surprised that I had so many people that had problems with CPS. And so, with that being said, the social worker got an insight. Now, that was a rare time, that social worker. Another social worker was a third party social worker, meaning she was hired to help out with the child protection system. She did know about the problems, about how corrupt CPS is. So she was a lot more understanding. A third one was a foster care mother who did not do adoptions. She was against adoptions. She was trying to help out. All 3 of the social workers were very professional and nice. So I don't want to generally say that all social workers are bad. Just the ones that I've encountered, either personally or the ones your parents have told me. So please tell me your case and your comment when you first start off. It's just be complete. That way I don't have to play ping pong ball. And I don't mind it, but it takes a lot longer that way. All you need to do is tell them how your family is structured, identify the children's ages and their sex, and then also you want to put down um, the allegations, and then how your children were taken from your home, or how they or were they taken, and lastly about where you're at on your case. Do the same thing when you call in. Do the same thing when you call in. That way, that gets it out of the way, and we have a complete understanding, and we can help you out better that way. So the second way is to type in a comment. And as I said, the first way is being a participant. Now, the third way is to be a guest on our podcast. Now, I had a guest last night from West Virginia, and she had sort of a hardship case. I think part of her problem was lack of income. So many of you have that problem. I too had experienced that. In 2010 had lost a job through no fault of my own. I was 60 years old and suddenly faced with the dilemma of how to maintain my $2 million home and our lifestyle. And I had to, with my savings and everything, had to try to save my family. Unfortunately, that set up the CPS to take advantage of the situation of me and my family. So that to have a guest on this podcast, I have openings for 9 guests. I can have a total of 10 little screens. I've had a max of 4, but never 10. But I would like you all to be a guest. My show is on 7 days a week, twice a day. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time, and I'm on at 7 o'clock at night, 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. There's one exception. Every Sunday, I come on 2 hours earlier at 8 o'clock because I want to be with my family with church. So I do the podcast early Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Then there may be times, because this is football season, I have a son who plays football, and I want to make sure I'm there to support his game. So they have Friday night lights. But this weekend, it's going to be all right. The game that they have is in Hawaii. So they're 3 hours behind us. So the game is on Saturday, not Friday. So the game will start at 3. Let's see here. At 4 o'clock, I'm sorry. And at 7 o'clock, it'll be over. And I'll be able to do my podcast this Saturday. So we have smooth sailing. There may be times with other podcasts taking place that I may have to change the times. But my times are set, 14 shows a week, Monday through Sunday, and it's either evening or morning. So all you have to do is contact our show producer, Grace. She produces our show, she works behind the scenes, and she will help you, and she helps me, and then many thanks go off to her about doing the podcast very well. You email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. It's on the screen, and you can see it there. You can see it there. So that's grace@vincentwdavis.com. All you have to do is identify who you are, and again, it'd be nice to know what city and state or county you're from, and she will in turn help you get on the show. She'll give you the link to StreamYard so you can get on. And that link is good. If you happen to fall off, you can still use that link to get back on. So don't lose the link. And then tell her what day you want to be on the show. Is it Sunday evening, Monday morning, a Wednesday evening, Thursday morning? That's all you have to tell her. She'll take care of the rest. She'll also tell you what to do as a guest on my podcast. Typical things are is you do not eat on the podcast or take snacks like or chew gum or smoke. The noises are irritating to the listeners. And so she'll tell you that. Also, you don't use the names of children, social workers, or judges on the show. We keep them in confidence. And so we can tell the locations, the departments, and states, and so forth. That's fine. But Grace will help you, and she'll be there if there's some hiccups or stuff. You should have a good working computer and a good internet connection. Because if you use your phone, and I know that may be the only thing you have, you got to make sure it's a good connection in that situation. Watch your backlighting. Watch where the light is, because it can cause a glare on the screen. Also, you should have lighting so that people can see you. So the best situation is a high-speed internet with a computer. But a phone is acceptable because that may be the only thing you have. So that's the third way to interact with this podcast. A fourth way is to call in. And I want to put my number up. When I put that number up, that means I can take live phone calls. I'm at 626 698 0990. That's direct line to my phone, and that's my office number. We use Vonage as a live stream phone application. So when you call in, I'll get it, and I can only talk to one person at a time, by the way. So if you call in and you can't get in, you can leave a message, or try to call back later or listen to the show. Sometimes I have two people call in and I can only talk to one at a time. And also, it's important when you talk on the phone that you have a good voice that I can hear you. If you have it too far away, you hold it too close to your mouth, it can slur your words. So it's really important we have a good connection. So the phone number is live. And so if you try to call me before my podcast or after my podcast, I can't talk on the phone. I can only talk during my show times. So leave a message and I'll text you back the show times to be on there. So I really encourage you to call in. That's a real comfortable way of talking about your case. Now, I have regular people that join me in my room. And they usually come in. Sometimes they get the notifications, sometimes they don't. And I also ask them to join me too. One of them is a lady from Kentucky. Her name is Faye, and she's on pretty regularly at both shows. And she is a really sweet single mom with a child that she has special needs that she's taking care of. She was brought up in foster care 5 separate times as a young child, and she was badly molested and raped and trafficked into the sex industry. So she has firsthand knowledge of how horrible that CPS has been to her. In Kentucky, Kentucky leads the states as the worst place to have a child protection system case. The police are corrupt, the social workers are corrupt, from the governor all the way down. Faye has tried repeatedly. Right now, she has contacted a local newspaper to try to get some media attention to how bad the CPS cases are in Kentucky. She wants the help. She's a hardworking help. So those 4 ways are the ways you interact with this podcast. One is to be in the podcast. 2 is to text a comment. 3 is to be a guest, and 4 is to call me. So right now, I'm wide open, and we have several ways that we can go with direction of the podcast. I can describe what social workers are like, what kind of individuals they are. I have some good examples of them. I also have my case that I can explain to you further. It was a horrible case, and I can talk about that. I also have about 50 tabs open with different topics, like ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, or the 3A motion, or the 160 juvenile hearing. There are so many different topics that we can talk about, the ICPC. Um, and it's all about your states. Every state's different. And so we have those to talk about. Also, I found a thing called Coors Digest, which is stories of CPS cases. And we can talk about those cases and see how maybe they may help you. But I'm open up to everything because this room is your room. I want to help you. I know it's very boring to hear me every day talk about how they interact with this podcast, and to go over my rules. I do have 5 rules that I've come up with that will help you in your case. So I'm hoping that someone will come into the room. There are people in the room right now that would like to see what direction they would like it to go there. So I'm open to that. Also, I've tried to do different topics with Faye. We discussed topics that we can talk about. Like yesterday, we were talking about the, medi, the mental disability, the ADA, which is the Disability Act, and so we've talked about those and stuff. So it's really it's really been a hard time. And so um, I'd like to first find find a way to help you. Um, well, here, my friend. Here, I can move. See. Now, another lady that we have here that's been very helpful is Natalie from West Hollywood, and she has been coming to this room and talking about her 2 children that were taken. Now, I'm looking right now. I think what I would probably do right now is talk about this um, Core's Digest about CPS topics right at the moment. That would probably be the best thing to do here. Let me get those. Okay. Now, here's one topic that came up. Um, this is again um, loaded here. A person named Abigail wanted to argue if someone reports you to CPS, your children should be removed until the investigation is complete. But why does? And so her argument is that one of her children, why does CPS leave them potentially unsafe homes where there's a possibility the child will be strangled? So this person here was worried about CPS not taking the kids out of the home. That's typical. The MO that they do is they take the children out of the court. So um, now Abigail further says, one of my children had surgery. He was sent home too early, and that was because she said the insurance company they try to cut back costs. And with so much pain that he's wailing all day and night. One of the neighbors in her building called CPS, which they typically do. Those are lay people, and they reported that family with the child is crying all night. The police came, which is usually when calls are made, they're first made to 911. 911 connects them with the police, and so the police come out to the scene to do either a welfare check or to find out why this child is calling. The problem is, and this is one thing I really like to emphasize about lay people, there are two ways that allegations are reported. One are by professionals, which are required by law to report any symptoms of neglect or abuse. And that could be a doctor, a nurse, it could be a teacher, a principal, a counselor, even a cafeteria worker. If somebody who works with children, they're required by law to report any signs of negligence or abuse. And being professional, they pretty much have gone through a class in school that they know what to report. For instance, if a child comes to school with bruises all over their body, the teacher is going to ask the child, hopefully she knows how to intervene appropriately, and ask the child in confidence what happened. The child may say, I was in a horrible soccer game. I got run over by the boys. I got injured. Well, she's not going to pursue it any further. But if the child said, my dad beat me up with a belt or a spoon or a hammer or whatever, or my dad hurt me or my mom hurt me, then she is required by law to call, uh, to make a report about it. Now, most of the professionals know to call CPS. Lay people don't know who to call, so they call 911. They get transferred over to the police, like in this case I'm reading about. Now, the other kind of person is the lay person. And it is necessary true all the time they call him because there's a kind of lay person that likes to take revenge on other families, or they like to take revenge on their family. In my case, my CPS case, my in-laws, my wife's mother, father, her brother, and her three sisters were very bad, and they they called in and complained that we weren't feeding our children and we weren't paying the utility bills. We weren't taking them to school. They didn't have clothing. They were doing all this stupid stuff because why? For 30 some years. See, I'm a family man and I've been married for 31 years. I have 6 children. And they never came to our wedding. They never really encouraged her daughter. They just didn't like me. So for all those years, they've been trying to take away our children. They thought when I lost my job through no fault of my own, that they could take advantage and take our children. So they took our children. They tried to take our children by calling the agency. They used the agency as dupes. The only problem is the Child Protection Agency takes people by their word that it's the truth. So they declare you guilty until you're proven innocent. It's the only court of law that you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Every other legal matter is that you're um, innocent till you're proven guilty. So with that being said, my in-laws were doing this, and so they were doing it, and this went on for 5 years, by the way. It didn't, and I'll tell you about later about my story. But going back to this person that was making this Abigail girl said that she said the neighbors in her building called about her child. She had a surgery and um, he was sent home early because insurance companies like to keep the expense down. Likes to keep the expense down. And so the neighbor called, but they called 911, the police. So the police came. And this is where I think y'all should never answer doors. And it took her several minutes to answer the door because she'd been up several nights straight with her child who had the surgery, trying to comfort him. And she had finally fallen asleep. Anyway, the police have been pounding on the door to check on a child that had been crying for several days and nights nonstop, just to encounter a mom who looked like anyone after days of this. So the mother explained the situation. They told me they were going to call the child protection system and recommend that I need to have another adult in the house to help me 24/7 until my son recovered from his surgery. Now, the police looks like they're trying to help and everything in that case. The only problem is, um, by the time CPS got there the next afternoon, I had my calendar filled with help from my congregation and hired a nurse's aide for the foreseeable future. Do you think it would do done anyone any good to take my child from the home? Now, she came up with several questions. The majority of cases can be solved with intervention that does not need removal, such as getting a family on food stamps or into family therapy or getting a step parent removed from the home. Why would you rip a child away from the home when the situation can be so easily fixed? If social workers suspect a child actually is danger, they're supposed to remove them immediately. Now, does the system work well enough that this always happens? Of course not. But you've severely damaged tens of thousands of children if you force to remove them from a basically safe home. So, what this Abigail's talking about is that so many times social workers remove children that are not in immediate danger. Immediate danger is where the child's being strangled or slammed against the wall or 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 having all kinds of physical harm done to them. Now, does the system work well enough? This always happens? Of course not. But you're severe and damaged thousands of children. You're forced to remove them home. Number three, the foster care system is so overburdened by children whose homes have been deemed unsafe that they're literally housing foster children with no disabilities in psychiatric hospitals because there's simply nowhere to put them. Further, I can say is our system protecting children is severely broken. And removing every child from every phone call is not the solution. So that is something for all us to think about. It seems like everybody I've talked to, and I'm over 500 some people, say that the children are meanly taken. That's wrong. Now, one thing is you should never answer the door. And why I'm saying that is that been too many people have been shot and killed answering the door. I'm not necessarily saying take away the child from because of a CPS violation or issue or something, but because they um, have a hiccup in life that they need help. Now, that case I was reading about was a boy that had surgery, and I don't know why the mother wouldn't take him back to the hospital because apparently what they did not get fixed. They should never let a child go home that's in that much pain anyway. I know insurance companies are always very strict about keeping people in there. So I'm telling you that by answering the door, it ended up with all kinds of problems. Now, the people that said that had been killed, there was a gentleman, an Air Force man, he was 23 on May 3rd of this year, was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime in his nice apartment. It was a gated apartment area. And what happened is that a report came in by the hotel manager to the police that there was domestic violence going on, and he had the wrong apartment. And the way that the sheriff approached the apartment, he didn't do his training that he supposedly would have had that tells you how to contact someone in an apartment. So he banged on the door a bunch of times, said nothing. He came back later, banged on the door a bunch of other times. He finally said sheriff in a gruff voice. So the man was afraid of his life. And so he did answer the door, but apparently he had a gun that was down at his side pointing to the ground. And before the man could say anything further, when Suze opened the door, the policeman fired 5 times, point blank, less than a foot away from the man's chest. And the man died while talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. What a traumatic effect that was. The guy was temporarily relieved on administrative leave, and then on a Friday that week, he was let go, but no discipline. Now there is a charge against that man for manslaughter. It took that long for it to investigate, if you want. So, anyway, what I'm telling you all that um, you don't want to answer the door. This has happened repeatedly. There was a woman washing dishes at the sink, and she had let the sheriff and his deputy into her home. And there was an argument ensuing because the policeman did not know skills of how to diffuse arguments. And he got quite irritated and shot the woman 5 times in the face. She's dead. So dead, the deputy asked the sheriff, "Should I get my first aid kit?" And he says, "Don't bother. I know she's dead." He knew he was going to kill her. Well, that night, that man was charged with first degree. That sheriff was charged with first degree murder and, of course, fired. The deputy, since that time, is also being charged, and he's also being fired because he should have done something to stop his partner. His partner definitely had some wrong training or some macho attitudes that he wanted to exhibit. And I think it's really, really sad that 2 people could have been saved if proper measures were taken. In the first case, the policeman could have said very politely, and I'll bang on the door, "This is the sheriff from the Gainesville, Florida Police Department. We suspect there's domestic violence going on. Who is in this house?" The man could say, "I'm alone by myself. I'm talking on the phone." The sheriff then could say, "Okay, I want you to unlock your door, back away, and if you uh, have a weapon, put it to your side, put your body face down, your hands behind your head." Then the sheriff could have opened the door, assessed the situation, scoot the weapon to where he felt it was safe enough that it could be picked up, and then handcuff the man and search the rest of the apartment. That man would have been alive today, and the sheriff still would have his job. But that wasn't the case with B. The other case, the deputy could have stopped the sheriff from firing on the woman. A third case was a Korean lady that was hit, uh, fired 5 times. I don't know why it's always 5 times. I think a gun holds 6 bullets, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they fire 5 times with one bullet as a safety measure in case, I don't know, the person appears to be alive after 5 bullets. But the Korean lady had mental problems, and the policeman again did not know. So answering the door has never been a good thing. There's been too many people killed needlessly answering the door. Needlessly answering the door. So in CPS cases, when the door is rang or the doorbell is knocked, don't answer it. If they want to get a hold of you, they'll come back later. They'll leave a business card or a way to contact you. But you never know who's out there. Now, if you're outside that door and you encounter a policeman or social worker, it's very easy for you to tell them that you need to get your lawyer present before you talk any further. You want to do a timeout. And it's your constitutional right to have a lawyer present at all stages of a legal matter. And so that's one way to diffuse them investigating. Also, you do not have to give up your children. Now, there's only 3 ways they can enter the apartment. This is my rule number 3. can enter a home. One, if you give them permission or someone in your home gives them permission. One could be, if you give them permission or someone in your home gives them permission. And if that is the case, then you will definitely regret letting them in your home because they will try to search your home. So you don't want them to search your home or see your home because it may not be in clean state or maybe a disarray, which gets you further in trouble. The second way of getting into a home is if domestic violence is going on, meaning two people are arguing, a husband, wife, two guys, maybe there's a gun or a knife involved, and children are present. If children are present, they're in danger. Arguing in front of children is wrong. It's domestic violence. And if a child is being hit physically hard or disciplined hard or being strangled or thrown against a wall, then they're going to enter the home. The social workers, the child protection system, and the police will enter it and neutralize the situation. A third way they can enter the home is if they have a warrant, which is a legal document. They went to the court to have a judge sign a paper that states very explicitly what they plan to do. It's addressed to the people that are involved, and the children's names are listed, and the allegations are listed. It also gives the address of the place, the time and location they can enter the home, and what they can do. All that's got to be on a legal document signed by a judge with a wet signature embossed by a stamp that pushes the paper up. And when they do that, then they can enter the home with that warrant. But that warrant has got to be signed. A lot of times there's copies being made of warrants. Also, a warrant, you know, maybe have a Saturday or a Sunday date. Well, that's wrong, having a Saturday or a Sunday date, because courts aren't open on the weekends. It's got to be a Monday through Friday thing, or even a holiday. They're not open on holidays. So make sure you look at that date. Make sure it's a wet signature. And they have to show you the warrant. Just because they say it's in my back pocket doesn't mean anything. You're entitled to it. So to avoid all this is don't answer the door. But if you do, don't let them in. If they say they got a warrant, then you got to look at it, and then you got to follow the directions of the warrant. So I just tell you that a lot of the cases, the children are taken right away. Now, when children have to be taken away because there's danger, they can be placed with family friends. And that's what you should do, is give them people they can check and verify so they don't have to be taken or trafficked into foster care. The whole idea about them coming to your home with allegations is to kidnap your children, to traffic your children into foster care. Those are harsh words. And I'm sorry, CPS, I say those, but that's what they're doing. They're doing it for the purpose because right now the child protection system is a rogue agency. They've gone uncontrolled. There's nobody watching them. And it's $1 trillion money-making business. Every time they have a case open up, they're going to get $20,000 or more per child per month. So if you have 100 families with 3 children each, and 300 children, that'd be $6 million a month just for those. So I'm telling you, they're in there to make money. They're giving bonuses and incentives to take your children, to put them in foster care. That's their goal. Yes. Hi, Stephanie Backen. Please call in. I remember you from last night. Please call in. My number is up there, 626-690-990. We have Stephanie Bakken, who's from West Virginia, that had a horrible case where her father of her children had turned against her and had claimed custody of the children, and that she supposedly had mental problems kicked out of their apartment, and so she's been stranded looking at different places there. So, Stephanie, I'm glad to see you there. I'm sorry it took me a little bit of time to recognize you in my room, but please call in at 626 698 0990. Now, I have about 10 minutes left, and we were talking about, entering your home and what to say, what to not to do. Again, a good timeout to get away from social workers and police is tell them you need to have your attorney present before you go any further. That'll diffuse the situation. But anyway, that case that read today was pretty in depth there because typically they do that a lot. They do that a lot. Now I have another article that I can talk about while Stephanie gets the call in at 626 698 0990. Now, here's another story. What is it like as a child to be taken away from your parents by Child Protection Services and put into foster care? Tracy, who lives in Texas, says one of the best weekends of her life. She was in third grade, and my teacher noticed the bruises on my arm. The school called CPS. Pictures were taken, and I was placed in a foster home. I got to play with other kids outside. I didn't get hit or yelled at. I didn't have to stay in my room. It was glorious. Monday afternoon rolls around, and my dad and his wife appeared to take me home. The courts had returned me, and CPS was to do regular home visits for the next 6 months. On the way home, the wife hissed at me about causing so much trouble that I better never say another word. She got better at where she hit me. I shut down because I knew no one would save me. At 12, my dad's mom got them to let her take me to a family reunion for a week. I never went back. She apparently threatened my father with legal proceedings if he tried. She literally saved my life. I planned on ending my life when I went back to my father's house. That was sad, but then there's no more to the story here. So that was a terrible experience it is for a child to be brought up in foster care. I wish Faye was here because she could tell you how horrible it was. She sacrificed herself to let guys rape her so the other children in the home wouldn't be raped. That's how much she sacrificed herself. Now, I do want to talk about a very important rule, and that is the attorney. And I first want to suggest that you get a consultation with the attorney that I hired. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He has a law firm, Vincent W. Davis Associates, that produces his podcast. And I want to thank Mr. Davis um, for producing his podcast and for all that he does. He is a family dependency child attorney, juvenile, family law, dependency law. They go all hand in hand. He's an expert, 35 years, and he has fought CPS. and gotten the kids back. He's a trial attorney. He knows how to do trials. And on top of all that, he has fought CPS and done civil lawsuits where he's won millions of dollars in both state and federal courts. I got him to arrange a consultation, and you can call this number on my screen. It's in an orange background with yellow letters. It's 888 888 6582. And with that number, it will take you to our office. When you call in, tell them that Bob Pace sent you. When you call in, tell them that Bob Pace sent you. So that's 888 888 6582. And he will help you by talking to him for 30 minutes for $60. For $60. He'll talk to you for 30 minutes. And he's a caring man, and he will practice all over California and the United States. He has a case right now in Oklahoma, and he has a case in Merced in Northern California and several cases in Southern California. So all you have to do is call that number, tell him that Bob Pace sent you, and you can spend 30 minutes, and he'll only charge you $60. $60 for 30 minutes. And he will help you. He will help you. And he cares about you. And you can also talk about the retainer if you want to hire him. And I tell you that, Stephanie, I tried to tell you that last night, that all you had to do is call him at 888 888 6582. And he'll talk to you about your case, how to navigate your case. Because CPS, fighting CPS is like doing open heart surgery. If you do open heart surgery, you're going to have a medical doctor. You're not going to get a layman like an auto mechanic or a plumber to work on your heart. You're going to get a professional attorney. You need an attorney that has experience with juveniles, families, and in the dependency law. Dependency law is what it's all about there. That's the kind of attorney you need. Too many have hired wrong attorneys. You don't need a criminal attorney to do this CPS case. It's a dependency law. Look it up. So I really recommend you that you get and talk to a real attorney. It's only $60, and he'll talk to you on Zoom, and you can schedule a time. Also, there's a ticket running across my screen that has a website of his calendar. And all you have to do is type in https:// candly.com/apps /Bob Pace. That's BOBPACE. They'll get you to his website, and you can book a calendar for him. So I strongly urge you to contact Vincent Davis, and he will help you. He will help you. That's my rule number one. You need to get an attorney. I know you probably say I got a court attorney, court-appointed attorney. I'm not telling you can't use them, but they have a caseload of 30 more clients. They don't have time for you, and they will go. And so they will not fight for your case. So I tell you, please contact Vincent Davis at 888 888 6582. I want to thank all my listeners that have come in, and I want to thank all the people that joined my room and made the comments. I like all your emojis. And Stephanie, I guess it didn't work out for you to call in. Again, I'm on tonight at 7 o'clock, everybody. God bless y'all, and keep fighting for